I am so good. And you know what, Super Kev, I don't know if you remember this, but back in 2011, you were in LA, you were in La La Land, and you came into the World Football Daily studios. And that was the very first time I ever met you and I interviewed you. And I just remember how super impressed everybody was with your demeanor, your attitude, your friendliness. You were a superb interview. And as a Gooner at the time, I was like, holy, I just interviewed Kevin Campbell.
I
And fast
remember
forward
that.
now, we're doing a show. Do
I
you
know. I
remember?
remember. I do remember. I couldn't forget that. It was great. We could speak about
I
Los
know.
Angeles for hours, but I want to get straight into it because I know this is going to be a lot of fun. Sophie, can you remember your first game at Highbury?
I can. And it's really interesting because I was so desperate to go to a football game. I fell in love with football from a young age, and it was because of my dad and mostly Casey, our generation. I think a lot of the falling in love came from the World Cups as well.
Yeah.
You know, my first vivid memory was 78, Johan Cruyff and that Dutch team. And so for me, I fell in love with a lot of the international style of football. So then when it came to watching games with my dad when I was old enough, I really enjoyed, watching flair players. And so when I finally got to go to Highbury, I grew up a Greek girl in a generation where parents were a little bit strict. My parents wouldn't let me go. And I was like, they wouldn't let me go see Star Wars. They wouldn't let me go to the Arsenal. They wouldn't let me go
Really?
anywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
It was terrible. They regret it now. But so it was Manchester City. It was a Manchester City game. And I think it was in 86 or 7. It was 4-0.
Right.
I just remember, weirdly enough, Lee Dixon was actually pretty good at crossing the ball. I remember the first goal was Lee Dixon to Perry Groves and he headed it in.
Right.
And all I remember from that game, Casey, was how Rocky tortured Manchester City. I mean, he played with them like a Brazilian. It was like he was Zico that day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Michael Thomas scored a very similar goal to
What?
the goal he scored at
Anfield?
Liverpool.
Yes.
Did he
Yes.
make a habit of
I'm
that, or
so
is it just
pleased you
me?
mentioned that. No, yeah, I remember. Yes, yes, I
It
remember that.
ricocheted off him as well. It was
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. So, and that was the season that he went on. Was it 88 maybe? I don't know. But anyway, that was my first recollection of being
Of
able to go and being allowed to go to
an artist,
a
wasn't
game.
he? He was
Yeah.
an artist.
Yeah. True artist.
So tell me, Sophie, this might get a smile out of you. Tell me what your family football ties are, because I'm sure, being from North London, there might be some cross going on. Tell me.
So because also being Greek, right? There's a lot of passion
Oh
that's
yes.
involved in football. So growing up, you're going to be really proud of me that I came out of this insane kind of football upbringing. My dad was a Manchester United supporter,
Right.
and obviously he fell in love with Busby, the Busby Babes, in his era, and then of course Georgie Best came along.
Understandable, yeah. Understandable.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like everyone who fell in love with the Liverpool team. And even when I was younger, I loved watching Liverpool play,
Yeah.
right? We all did. We appreciated the quality. My mum, I don't know if anyone knows this, my mum was a Stoke City fan.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, to Arsenal,
Listen,
that's like that. But Stoke, my son's there, so I've got
I
to say,
know, so
yeah,
we're
that's
all
cool.
right? And she fell in love with Stoke because of Gordon Banks.
Right.
Right. So, and then my sister became a Man United fan. I'm the youngest. My brother became a Tottenham fan.
Wow. Wow.
Unbelievable how that happened. And he was influenced by a cousin of ours.
Right.
And so when I was growing up, it was this kind of smorgasbord of watching United, Stoke, and Tottenham are playing. And then all of a sudden, my first cousins really gravitated to Arsenal. My cousin George, my eldest cousin George has got their season tickets.
Is that George who I met?
You met George,
Top
yes.
class, top guy, top guy. Well done, George.
George was the one that kind of put his arm around me and was like, no. If you live in North London and you're a North London girl, you are not supporting a Northern team. And so that's really how I became a true gooner.
A true good. Ah, that's lovely.